everybody, my name is Birdie, I use she, her pronouns, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you all the basic essential items that you need to begin crocheting. So I am so happy that you're here, and let's get started. Okay, so first we're going to talk about crochet hooks. This is what a pretty standard crochet hook looks like. They're usually made of metal, plastic, or wood and come in a variety of sizes. Starting at the hook end, we have the head, the throat, the shank, the grip, and the handle of the crochet hook. There are a couple different kinds of crochet hooks. The two most common ones are inline and tapered hooks. With inline hooks, the head is aligned with the shank, the back is straight basically, and the throat and the shank are the same width. There's also going to be more space between the head and the throat, and it's a little pointier than the tapered hooks. Tapered hooks have the head raised slightly, have a narrow throat, and are a little more rounded at the edges than an inline hook. It's really up to personal preference which one you like better. For me personally, I always use tapered hooks, mostly because I tend to crochet really fast, and I find that my yarn catches on the less rounded edges or is caught in the deeper space of an inline hook when I'm crocheting really quickly. But I think inline hooks can be great for beginners since that deeper notch does allow you to hold onto the yarn better if you're still figuring out where your hands need to go and moving around a lot. And the pointier head of an inline hook is better at kind of piercing through your work. Beginners can get really tight stitches as they figure out tension. I'll talk about tension in an upcoming video, and how to work the hook through the stitches, so that makes the pointier inline hook a bit more precise and helpful. There are also different kinds of crochet hooks overall, not just the heads. These are your kind of standard crochet hooks that you'll see the most often with a relatively short handle. This one is called a Tunisian crochet hook. It's longer than the standard one and has this little cap on the end of it, and it looks similar to a knitting needle with a crochet hook at the end. You use Tunisian crochet hooks for the Tunisian stitch method, where you work your way down the row and pick up all your stitches on the hook, similar to knitting. You then work your way back, pulling loops just like normal crochet. I can teach you all how to do this in another video if you're interested. Tunisian crochet hooks can also look similar to how circular knitting needles look, where the hook ends in a plastic flexible cord and cap at the end. I don't personally have one here, but here's a picture of what one looks like. There's also a tatting crochet hook, which is a really tiny hook with a longer shank, and this is for a craft called tatting, which is like really intricate lace crocheting. To my understanding, it's more of a vintage or an older crochet form, but it's really cool if you want to check it out. Now, sizing crochet hooks is a little different than with knitting needles. Crochet hooks are measured or identified 3 different ways: a millimeter measurement, a letter and number, or just a number. The UK tends to just use a number and or a millimeter measurement, and the US generally uses a letter and number combo, but I've seen the millimeter used in the US as well. I'm going to show you a standard size chart here. You can see the UK numbers on the left, the millimeters in the middle, and the US labels on the right. I'm going to have a downloadable version of this available on my Patreon, so go check out the link in the description or subscribe at patreon.com/birdiesart if you want to have a copy of it. I recommend getting a set of hooks rather than just one. That way, if you need to go up or down a size to fit your gauge, then you don't have to go all the way back to the craft store, and it means less trips overall. I'll explain more about gauge in a later video, but for now, I'd recommend getting a set of hooks instead of just one. Okay, so now we're going to move into talking about yarn. I actually know quite a bit about yarn and spent a few years going to fiber and craft shows with my mom, but I'll do my best to keep it simple. Similar to crochet hooks, yarn is also measured by its thickness. I'm going to show you another chart here, and it has numbers on a little skein of yarn. 0 is lace, 1 is superfine, 2 is fine, 3 is light, 4 is medium or worsted, 5 is bulky, 6 is super bulky, and 7 is jumbo. You'll probably find yourself using number 4 the most, or if you do a lot of socks or lace work, you'll use those lower numbers, and the higher numbers for things like done in a day chunky blankets. You want to make sure that you do get the right yarn thickness that your pattern calls for, as going up or down even just one size really can make a difference in the size of your finished piece. The crochet hook and the yarn are the most important parts, but there are a couple other things you should have too. The first one is a yarn needle. You'll need this at the end of your project when you're finishing off and weaving in your ends. This ensures that your tail doesn't come loose or poke out, and it hides the knot that you tie off when you finish your project. A sewing needle is a bit too small for yarn most of the time, and you can get ones that have a slightly bent end or is made of flexible plastic like this one that makes it easier to weave in your ends. Another thing you'll need is stitch markers. They can be as simple as these colorful ones that I have that have kind of a locking, unlocking feature, or you can get something more fancy or intricate. Stitch markers are pretty much what they say they are. They're metal or plastic hoops, I guess, that you attach in a stitch, or if you're knitting, right on your needle. It's a place marker so you know where a round begins or ends, a future point to crochet up to, or anything else that you need to mark a stitch for. I find that I use them a lot when I'm crocheting amigurumi, which is the Japanese art of crocheting small stuffed animals and dolls, other stuffed animals, or anything that requires a lot of shape work. Speaking of amigurumi and stuffed animals, if that's something you're interested in doing, then I'd recommend that you get these safety eyes. I don't have any on me at the moment, but they're a bit like a bolt and washer kind of a thing, with the plastic eye and a post that you poke through your crochet, and then the rubber or plastic washer fits on the back side. These are a lot easier to have instead of embroidering or sewing eyes on, and they look super cute when it's done. So whether it's amigurumi, a pillow, or anything else you're making that's stuffed, you'll also definitely need some stuffing or filling for it. That's another super easy thing to grab at the craft store or online. They usually have them in the yarn or like fabric quilting area. And finally, you'll want to keep some scissors and a ruler or measuring tape nearby for cutting your yarn when you're finished or changing colors, and for measuring your piece if you need to. Other than that, those are the basics of what you need to get started. Thank you so much everybody for joining me today and watching the video. I'm hoping that you learned something from it and enjoyed it as well. Leave any questions in the comment section below. I will be making more videos coming up on the basics of crochet and things like that, so have no fear, more videos are coming. Don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button. It means a lot to me as a beginning creator. I appreciate it very much, and check out the links to my socials in the description below. So, love, kindness, and good vibes as always, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.